Okay, my name is Craig Rowe. I'm an instructor at Truckee High School, and I'm also the director of a college access program and career access program called Fuerza, Latina, which helps supports high-achieving local first-gen scholars. My relationship with reading has been one that's very personal. To describe me as a non-reader as a young person would be an understatement. I did not read at all throughout high school and really into my mid-20s. And at the time, I was putting on masks that made it seem as if I didn't care about that. I would say, I was the person to be like, how'd you do on the test? I'm like, I didn't even read, man. I got an F. I didn't even read it, right? And they say, dude, how'd you get an F on that? It's like, I didn't even read it. And so I was putting on these fronts as if being a non-reader didn't bother me. But inside, it was really eating at me and affecting my self-worth. So my image of myself as a reader became intertwined with my concept of who I was, right? And I was like that for many, many, many years. And I always tell the kids, the hardest thing I ever did, it wasn't breaking a cycle of working in kind of dead-end restaurant kitchen jobs for 12 years. That was needed to change, and it was hard, but it wasn't as hard as becoming a reader. Breaking the cycle of hanging out with people who were getting me into all kinds of things that I shouldn't be getting into, that was hard. It wasn't as hard as becoming a reader. Breaking the cycle of putting things into my body that were harmful to me was hard, but not as hard as becoming a reader. The hardest thing I ever did was to become a reader. So libraries for me were places for a long, long time that brought out the deepest insecurities of who I was. I always felt it when I was in a library as an imposter. I always felt inside a library like somebody was gonna come up to me and say, hey man, we know who you are, you need to get out of here, right? Because I always felt like I was gonna be exposed in a library for all my ugliness inside, right? And that kept going for years, even when the degrees started piling up, right? Even when the BA happened in Lit, even when the Masters happened in Lit, even when I was working on my PhD at UC Berkeley and Stanford, I always felt deeply insecure inside libraries until at the Bancroft Library at UC Berkeley, it's the graduate research library, the big flagship library at Cal. And in the basement, they have a research section, right? And you can only go in there and get artifacts if you're working on a dissertation. And I was kind of postdoc at the time. I was ABD. I had done all my graduate studies, and I was just working on my dissertation. So you go in there to the Bancroft Library, you ask to see some artifacts, they bring it out, and I was asking to see these medieval transcripts. Had nothing to do with my dissertation, right? But it was the most beautiful thing I could think of, because I had seen pictures of these translated medieval transcripts, these gilded ones. And I didn't even know what they said. They were in Latin. But they were so beautiful. They would bring them out. I would be in this kind of real antiseptic little cubicle, and they'd bring it in to me, and I'd sit there, and I would sit in the presence of this beautiful, beautiful inlaid golden document. And I would cry, because at that moment, I didn't even know what the thing said, but it was so beautiful, and it contained so much wisdom. I could almost feel it. And I belonged there. Nobody was coming into that library and telling me telling me what I wasn't. It was a moment when I discovered who I was. So libraries for me, they're sanctuaries. They're places where people can go and have transformational experiences. They're places where people can go and not be exclusive, but embrace and transform their lives into what they can become for themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.